Inspector, I regret that during the launch event, bankers, investors, and government officials died. But there are things one cannot predict. The shadows devouring people being one of them. Safety Inspector, let me do your job for you. You see that giant piece of metal moving back and forth? It's a top-grade mineral decontaminator. I installed it as soon as I heard that my employees were losing their hair. Once installed, cellular degradation fell by 37%. Saving humanity puts a lot of stress on my workers, as do my 12-hour workdays. Point is, there are many reasons for hair loss. Excellent. Our time together is almost at an end. There's a bridge right around the corner. Cross it and you will be on a direct path to Sunshine. And my security manager, James. Oh yes, he was evacuated as well. I wouldn't dare risk his health and safety. Be careful with my lamps. At Lightmatter Technologies, we treat our inanimate objects with respect, not like those monsters of aperture science. If you're wondering why I built a lab inside a mountain, resilience. It was here before me, and it will be here after me. Just look around you, Inspector. We had an unprecedented event, and this living, breathing monument to science still stands. Before meeting James, don't be too intimidated by his physique. He is the human equivalent of this mountain. Well-built, dependable, and resilient. Ah, you found a solution. Excellent. You leave, and I'll be able to focus. Ah, the bridge collapsed. That's why I don't trust you, inspectors. I built it up to code, to what was legally required of me, yet what good did it do? Let me figure out your options. I really don't have time for this. The new door will be open soon enough. A moment, Inspector. Yes, James, this is Virgil. I need... James, calm down, James. Just punch something. We will find your cat later. Now focus. I need details for a new evacuation route. The inspector didn't make it across the bridge. It collapsed. Must have pushed the button too hard. Yes. Uh-huh, I thought so. Plan out the rest of the route, and do it faster than last time. Goodbye, James. Inspector, the door is open. Run along now. Right, Inspector. Your failure to push a button has resulted in a change of plans. You will be taking a detour to another elevator. Now, show some gratitude for the amount of effort I put into keeping you alive. Keep an eye out for James's cat, Lux. James wants to know that he's safe. You see, James can't function properly when he's sad. Listen, I have a limited amount of patience, and this detour is exhausting it. Lightmatter demands my attention. So, you'll be on your own for a little while. Just know that I admire your persistence. With everything you've been through, I would hate my life if I were you. Now, you'll survive as long as you stick to the green exit signs. Good luck.
is Ellen. And things here are... Okay. First off, I am really proud to be an engineer at Lightmatter Technologies. But I don't know what the truth is anymore. People are getting sick left and right. Tape recorders have been banned. And now, until launch, all outside communication is prohibited. Not only that, leave permits are invalid. Virgil and Arthur, the pioneers of science. I can't believe they're doing this. They've been fighting each other for weeks, so I knew something was wrong, but I never thought they would lock down the facility like this. I guess whoever is listening to these tapes, if you're in the facility, please keep them hidden, just until we can get them away from here, to someone who can help spread the truth, when I find it. Ellen here. I don't know what to do. I was sleeping in the lab when suddenly I felt something on my head. I opened my eyes and Arthur is standing over me, in the dark, holding a vial. Before I could do or say anything, He just said it's for the better. What? How exactly is pouring liquids into my hair for the better? I wish I'd said that. But there he was. Arthur, the CTO of Lightmatter Technologies. The man I spent years working with. The man I am helping to save the world. I could barely recognize him.
So this was one of the levels that were originally built with Lego. I think I had a time where I designed a lot of Lego puzzles, like with things that were turning around, and this was one of the puzzles that we felt fit the game, and also one of the older puzzles that we had a long time ago.
One of the very first, actually, more difficult ones.
Yeah. So we more or less made this concept in Lego, and then we took it further into the game itself, and there were some difficulties with designing this puzzle. Could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yes, there were actually quite a lot. I think this is also one of the levels that has went through most iterations over the time. As you mentioned, it was one of the first puzzles, so we've had a lot of time to... We've always believed in this puzzle and thought that it could become good in the end. Yeah. So it has been in the hands of actually quite a few people who has made it work better and better over time. Like for the setting of for the puzzle, we knew that like the main structure of the thing are these fans, like the spinning thing in the middle of a round room. But how could we make a sense of it? Because it didn't look okay. It had kind of the shape of a fan, but with only 4 blades.
Yeah.
But it kind of had to make more sense so it fit the facility. So Austea came up with the idea of making it into a fan area, combined with the previous puzzle, and kind of make a theme out of it from behind the scenes. There's some why is the player jumping around on fans? It's one of those levels that kind of doesn't make sense. And why do you have buttons in different rooms that rotate the thing? But yeah. We tried to make sense of it as well as we could.
I think maybe, at least from my perspective, one of the reasons why it looks as it does is because I took inspiration from some of the hub areas in maybe some of the old Zelda games, where there's one big thing that rotates and kind of changes the whole level. And I like the idea of using the playable space in 360 degrees around you, and that is kind of a very gamey kind of level. So it is difficult to make it make sense in a universe kind of way. But we tested it with a lot of people at conventions, and it felt like this was one of the better puzzles. It had the right amount of difficulty, and you have to understand how you use the lamps, and you have to understand that you place the lamp on the tip of the fan blade, and then the angle of the lamp is important. What way is it turned? So when you actually press the button, it should align up with the slope in the end.
Yeah, it is kind of foreseeing what will happen if I place the lamp like this and press the button and rotate the fan. I think actually also because it was one of the first puzzles. It was, I think, the first puzzle that delved into leaving the lamp on something and then sending it away.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, to make it flow better throughout the game, we came up with a lot of the other levels that also kind of does the same, mostly with moving platforms. But it also design-wise, because it's red behind the scene themed, and a lot of the details can drown in the darker red colors. We had some trouble with people knowing where they were in relation to the ramp they have to proceed on. So that's one of the things we struggled with in a long time. So we tried to kind of make all of the entrances a bit more unique. I mean, they're all the same kind of opening, but the things around them to give a sense of which room you are in and what direction you are looking. And also later on, in the first iteration, I think you just had to go up the ramp, like outside the level, kinda, and then you would head to the exit, or right up to the exit.
Mm-hmm.
But then we extended the thing to go through the whole puzzle area as well, to kind of emphasize the exit above the whole puzzle area, actually.
And it looks nice when you look down at the level itself.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool with all the beams and rafters that you should shine light through.
Yeah, and it also turned out that these Ellen tapes, we need that space to kind of like let her talk, so the bridge is just the right length. So that fit nicely for that.
Yeah, and then the end of the level is where you exit the behind the scenes area and have now gone into the next area of the game.
I can't stop Arthur. Nobody believes a man of that status would poison people like that. And apparently, losing my hair at the age of 31 isn't proof enough. I need to take more drastic measures.
So this level is quite important in terms of the release of this game, because as an indie game company, publishing a game is quite difficult. There come a lot of games on Steam every day, and we needed something extra to kind of like be recognized with our game. And we've been for a long time been looking for a publisher who could help us like get the game out to people. And after much search, we found Aspire, who is helping publishing the game. And one of the first things they suggested was, why don't you just give away part of the game for free? And why don't you just give away, let's say, an hour of the game? And that was quite a tough question for us. So what was the reasoning behind this? And yeah.
So first off, being asked to give such a big part of your game and your baby away for free is like that. The idea in itself in the beginning was it was overstepping some boundaries we were not like prepared for, and maybe that was also like that provocation. We have talked with so many people that have offered publishing services and PR service and stuff like that over the years, and we found that those who can provoke you in a good way with your product and how you perceive it yourself, who don't just like stand behind you and push forward your own ideas, but also come with their own ideas. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones you should really listen to, because they can, in our experience at least, because they can help you do something different, because the way you see your game is the way that a mother sees their children.
Yeah, so they proposed this free to try model.
Yes.
And what can you just describe it a little bit?
Yes, basically it is that there is this progression blocker we put into the game, where you can actually just grab the game, download it for free, and then play what is an hour worth of content for free. Mm-hmm. And then you can then you get to this progression blocker, where you can pay the amount for the full game, and then your progress is saved onto the full game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically just a integrated demo, sort of like.
But it's a model that has been used many places, especially on mobile, where you kind of just download it and play it, and if you want to continue, you pay for it. But it's not that common on like PC games.
No.
And a lot of people were like, is this free to play or free to try? And there's a difference, because we were really afraid that people would think that this is a game where there's a lot of in-app purchases and stuff like that.
Yes, and because when you sell a game, what you're selling before people are buying is most of the time expectations of what to the potential buyer, like what can they expect to get from the product they're buying. And if we are selling something where they get some wrong expectations from our sales pitch, which is the Steam page and the tags and all the things, like we will not convey the things that the game is about, and that was some huge concern to us. Like it's the same with our game. Like we have really fought a hard battle to keep it away from being a scary game.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the same, because if people go into this game expecting it to be scary or horror-like in some ways, like people will be disappointed, because that's not our game.
Yeah. And but the I guess the overall thing with this was that the publisher said, we think people like this game. If they get their hands on it, they will love it. So why don't we give it to people and like give them the opportunity to experience part of it, and then they can make the decision if they want to buy the game.
Yeah, a game like ours is best explained through your fingers.
Yeah.
Like playing it.
Yeah.
And how do we get people to play it without buying it? Well, that's to give out content for free, and by that we could better like convey what this game was about for real. And over time we were really it really grew on us, this idea, until the point where we like, let's do this.
Yes, and depending on how or if you purchased the game, we wanted it to be a little tongue in cheek, where there's this Tull booth, and we have David Basin recording some I don't know, some VOs that were a little bit like mocking the player, like you have to pay to get through it, and we thought it was funny to do it in universe and like make a little fun of, like, you know, when you buy a game or buy an item in a mobile game or something, it's really generic, it's just a pop-up and it looks not that good in my opinion.
Oftentimes, and this thing about playing with the idea of how people should buy it that was something we really wanted to have done in our own way.
Yeah.
And we are really happy with the result of how it ended up being, and we feel like this is our own way of doing it.
Yes.
And that is the most important thing, because even though ideas come from all over the place, but it's not about where you get your ideas from, it's how you implement them with your own beliefs and your own thoughts into it, and that's about making stuff your own. Another big design choice we had to do in this was like, where do we put this progression blocker in?
Yeah.
And we've been talking, like, we started by talking like, okay, a percentage of the game should be like here, but okay, how does that put us in terms of the story progression, the puzzle progression, where are we? And the more we worked with it, the less attached we were to like giving, like we actually wanted to give more and more away.
Yeah.
The more we worked with it, and that was quite a funny experience to go through, because, as we said, like in the beginning we were very strict and tight about this. Yeah. Like we were almost like no.
Yes.
But in the end, like we could like just give more and more away, and we ended up looking at some different parameters to like where we wanted to have this progression blocker.
Yeah, both in terms of time and also mechanics, and I think saying you get an hour of the game for free is like an easy way to explain it, and you get just enough of a glimpse of what this game has, like both in terms of the game mechanics but also in terms of the universe. Like it was important for us that you went into the scenes before this level where you hear Ellen, the character who speaks to you through a tape recorder.
Yeah.
And just to show that there's more in this game than what you just saw in the first level.
Yes, it like the universe. We needed the universe to expand, but just enough.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to give too much away, but we still wanted to give enough away that it had that teaser effect. And the same with puzzle-wise, when the level here that you're in, like it introduces this new thing with the
sensors. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just to give a taste of something more, that you know that the game will change, and there will be more to it. And that was why we chose to like end at this level for the free to try model.
In this level, Uno Dos, we kind of had the idea that we wanted to make a more vertical level, and to be able to move vertical in Lightmatter, we kind of needed a way to bring the lamps. So we went with the idea of using an elevator.
Build the puzzle around it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the first thing was, the first idea we got was to put this lamp on top of the elevator, so you would actually be in the elevator and have the lamp just above you.
So the roof of the elevator.
Exactly, the roof.
Yes.
But when we tested the first iteration of the level, it was really difficult for people to solve the puzzle. So yeah.
So the idea was they had to step off the elevator on the second or first floor, press the button to bring the elevator down, and then it would find the lamp on top.
Yeah.
But it caused problems, because in the beginning the level was only encapsulated in the kind of building structure that you see now in the game. So it was very claustrophobic, and each level was you didn't have a sense of what level am I on right now. So through testing, like people couldn't figure out. They were disoriented for one, and they couldn't find the lamp that was on top of the roof of the elevator. So we came up with the idea of kind of expanding the level a bit, so you see the main structure of the puzzle from the outside in the beginning of the puzzle, to kind of get a feeling of how, like, now you're gonna work in a more vertical sense with the elevator, and you kind of get a feeling of there are 3 levels that you work on, so you have more of an over when you go into the actual puzzle part of it. And then inside the puzzle building, if you can call that, we also have like some places the ceiling is missing, or pipes are extending from the bottom level all the way to the top, to kind of get the feeling of, or get the sense that, or get a better overview of where you are in the level.
Yeah.
So you can look up and see the other levels from, for instance, the bottom floor. But
And also that the idea that there's something on top of the elevator, that there is a level more, you can actually see that.
Yeah, the idea is to plant the idea in the player's head that, well, I saw 3 levels from the outside, but I've only been on 2 of them. So what happens if I, for instance, press the button on the first floor and the elevator moves down? Can I go up stairs? And yeah, that's what the whole puzzle revolves around. And of course, having the player like calculating in their head that probably need to get to the top floor, because they will pretty quickly get stuck. Like they'll pretty quickly get access to the 1 lamp and then the 2 floors with the 2 sensors, but all it does is open a gate, and then you can't really progress.
Yeah, you need 1 more lamp
you need to figure out. Yeah.
To light up the shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's you're back and forth in figuring out how to get the 3rd lamp, and then of course also illuminating the correct sensors to go out through the level. but there's a lot of moving parts in this level, so it's figuring out how to do it in the right sequence, because you can't get like still get a bit frustrated maybe that there's a lot of back and forth. You have to move the elevator down, put the lamp on top, press the button again to get the elevator up. Like there's a lot of moving parts, so you have to do step by step, back and forth. If you make a mistake, for instance, it's a long way back.
Yeah, and also with all the moving parts in this level, when making the sound, for example, the elevator, you can actually push the button to start it, and then you can push it again before it's all the way up. So it wasn't possible just to make a simple sound that plays from start to end, because it would be abrupted when you press the button. So we had to come up with a solution that controlling the sound with a parameter of the speed of the elevator. So when the speed threshold get over 0, then it kind of make a clunk sound that starts the elevator, and then it has a middle sound, which is the elevator running. And if the speed goes under a certain threshold, then it makes a stop sound. So that's kind of the solution for that.
Yeah. And then the visuals also support it. It has that smooth, like if you press the button and press it again, it will slow down and then speed up the elevator again. So, yeah.
So this was one of the many wall/sensor levels that we made, one of the better ones, and we tried to use this sensor in a new way. Can you explain how we did this concept with lights and sensors?
Yes. So the idea is that the ability to jam a gate, keep it open and kind of swap the lamps around, what lamp. The idea of bringing one lamp to the end of the puzzle by jamming the gate, basically, with 2 lamps. And also I remember the interesting part from the beginning was the idea that you have to keep holding the lamp on the sensor while you walk through the gate.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of people, when they tried the first time, they accidentally light the lamp away from the sensor and the gate closes and they have to do the thing again. But at first it might seem unsatisfying, but it's a good setup for a eureka moment.
Yeah.
People are now I get it. We even, just because we thought it was fun, we even made Virgil laugh at the player if you actually do it, if you close the gate.
That was pretty funny. And it's one of the more interesting things when making games is just observing how playtesters, they play the game and just using that. For example, that thing where the gate shuts down, then it's just funny to kind of use that with a small commentary from Virgil. And this is also one of the first levels where we actually have a cat in the game, Lux, that you might have found. And Lux actually started out as more or less a joke that one of our interns made. And I think she said something like, people on the internet, they like cats. And we said, yeah, they do. So how about we get it in somehow? And in the beginning it was just a small thing, but over time it grew bigger and bigger, and we started recording voiceovers for it as well. And I think this idea of James having a cat was kind of an interesting thing, and also that Virgil can show a little more of a soft side, because he kind of cares about Lux, as far as I understand.
Yeah, but he just won't admit it.
Yeah.
And then he just, his excuse for liking Lux is just because James, it keeps James happy.
Yeah.
And James is important for Virgil, but yeah.
And we, because we were recording these voiceovers, we also needed some cat sounds, and just for fun, we asked our Discord community if they could record a lot of cats, their own cats, and I think 10 or 15 people sent it in to me, and we're actually using those sounds at random, so maybe your cat is in our game.
We even have one cat called Virgil.
Yeah, yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah.
Like one of our one person from our publisher, he has this cat called Virgil, and every time he plays the game, it's so strange that, yeah.
But I think it was a good. That's like our way to get a collectible in the game, also.
Yeah.
Like to give a newer dimension to the puzzles. You feel like you have something to look for.
Yeah, explore the game a little bit more than just solving puzzles.
Yes. And if you haven't noticed when you play the game that you actually get a voiceover from Virgil each time you find a new cat or you find looks again. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
You seem intoxicated by opening and closing that door. Is this the first time you've held real power in your hands, Inspector? Allow me to clear away any doubts you might have about my photon power cells. For my initial test, I took an elevator to the top of the mountain on a sunny day. I had a coffee machine in each hand, one powered by a solar cell, the other powered by my photon cell. Within 1 minute, I was drinking delicious black photon cell powered coffee. It tasted like victory. Impressive. You're the smartest inspector I've ever met. A low bar, sure, but a bar nonetheless. Oh, hold on.
So this puzzle is a product of a phase in the puzzle development where we were focused a lot on the light sensor. We had to come up with a puzzle that utilizes the light sensor in different ways. This puzzle actually started out as something completely else. I kind of imagined a face with like with instead of eyes, there were just holes in like a wall that you would shine through with a portable lamp, and then obviously you would have two circular cones of light shining through the wall into the other side, and then you would have to maneuver the portable lamp around to hit two light sensors on the other side of the wall, and find the perfect alignment so you could open a door or gate or whatever it was. I don't remember. But it proved to have some problems with the perspective. You couldn't see how the light cones were hitting on the walls behind the wall with the face for the openings. So I kind of scrapped that idea and came up with the idea of locking a portable lamp in place by having it connect to a sensor. So for this level, it's the sensor on the right controls the the moving platform on the right. So if I could extend or move a lamp out on a platform and have it pointed directly at the sensor, once it hit its peak, it would keep in place and kind of be locked in that position. And I thought to myself, I have an idea here. So I went back to my drawing board and tried to come up with a solution of how to extend it, because that was way too simple for a puzzle. And I have to be honest, I don't remember how I did it, but somehow I ended up creating this puzzle that really utilizes all its elements really well. It's one of my favorite puzzles in the game.
I think it's the whole company's favorite puzzle. Like all the developers call this puzzle the golden child. They made it.
it just seems like it utilizes its like the mechanics multiple times.
Yeah, it's
meaningfully.
It's a well-rounded puzzle.
Yeah, and it's very compact as well. There's not much to it. Of course, we have the two sensors and the two lamps, but it's still like in a compact area, and
it's very simple.
Yeah.
And I remember that it was in a phase where we were kind of discovering like what kind of concepts does this mechanic have, the sensor mechanic, and we were a bit in doubt if we could actually if we can make enough puzzles with the sensor mechanic. But then you made this one, and parallel to that, I made the previous one, Wall, which, funnily enough, they use similar concepts with like locking a gate with a lamp and a sensor, and we didn't even like coordinate that. We just made those puzzles parallel to each other, and then Matthias arranged them. And I think because this one is a harder version of that, they fit well together. It feels like they build on each other. And I also remember that now that we're talking about sensors, like the whole reason why we have this mechanic, the sensor mechanic, was we were in the game. You light up a lot of floor, and having things on walls that you light up, that you have to light up something vertical also. It gave a nice contrast to that, and it just felt cool being able to activate things with light. So you felt a little more powerful with that. So it's a mechanic that we really wanted to make work, and luckily we did. Can also mention that when like designing the story and what should happen, we really wanted to continue like the mystery of who you are, and want that thing to change a bit, because we read a bunch of screenwriting books, and with like we had a mentor on the script, and there was a lot of talk about having that your story fluctuates between positive and negative frequently, so it doesn't become stale. So, for instance, something negative that happened a few scenes ago is that the bridge collapsed, and now you have to take a detour. But then the positive thing is that you took a shortcut. So Virgil starts, complimenting you and liking you. Hey, for an inspector, you're actually pretty smart. But then all of a sudden he finds out that you're a journalist, and it kind of dives down again. And that really fit with David as a voice actor, because he is very versatile and has a big range. He is really great at delivering like sinister, eerie tones, and luckily, our sound designer also, like, the music he makes is also pretty dark, some of it. So we felt that it matched really well, and also when like deciding what music should be played in each scenes, we thought about that a lot, like what fits tone wise. And here he made a darker sound that kind of fits with this, with him suspecting that you're an enemy, basically, because Virgil is the character of Virgil is very inspired by Elon Musk, and one of the things that we talked a lot about with Elon Musk is his relation to journalists, where there's interviews where journalists are basically trying to, make him saying things to make him emotional. There's an interview where he basically cries on camera because the journalist is just asking these really, really nasty questions. And we thought it would be interesting if Virgil also had like this weakness. Like he hates journalists because they keep trying to expose him or expose weaknesses. And it also gives the character a bit more depth and makes him. It's a way to make him talk about things that he would otherwise hide away. Like shortly after this, he starts talking about Arthur and stuff like that, and progressing the narrative a bit. Yeah. Also,